We are back, guys. It's been about a month. I've had no internet. We've not done any pirate radios at all. I know you've been gagging for all this TF2 news. And of course, we're back with episode 36. Cadis and Zavi with me, of course, Commander X. And we're going to just dive straight into season 13, basically, because we've missed everything. And I have absolutely no idea what's happened. I've had like no internet whatsoever. So Cadis kind of like updated me earlier. So apparently I have echo and I have no idea why. Um, Someone's saying, Adam. Apparently, there's echo somewhere. Yes. I'm gonna keep
So
going
this was
anyway.
actually first on our list of things to talk about.
Right. It's sorted apparently. I don't know what the fuck's going on. Right. Season 13, Cadus, why don't you hit us off with the top four teams?
No, I had it open twice for a while. It's because Team Fortress TV says it's muted when it's not muted. It tricked me.
Wow, your kid's fucking terrible.
Right, Cadus, go through the playoff teams. Go for it.
Okay, so the four playoff teams are confirmed. The order remains to be confirmed, but it's BFF, Crack Clan, Epsilon, and maybe surprisingly TLR. As far as it stands, Epsilon are guaranteed first place, but second, third, and fourth could all change based on a game happening next week. Thoughts on TLR?
Well,
The other three the other three were expected to be there. I think. I don't think anyone's surprised to see them there. But TLR possibly taking as good as second spot.
Yeah, it's not something any of us predicted at the beginning of the season, obviously. I haven't really managed to see any games to see where they've grabbed all those points. Do you know which teams they beat, Cadus? Is it there
Wait,
at all?
I've got the information. They beat Punchline, QN, and Damage Control. Or 5-1 against Damage Control, but yeah.
So they beat all the teams that we thought would be contesting for that spot anyway. So I guess it's like they went out and fought for it and just took the fourth spot away from these teams. Whether there was anything going on in those games, I don't know. But maybe it just proved that TLR are the better of the lower teams. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I think basically what happened is it was basically always going to be between Punchline and TLR. I think that was how most people felt anyway. QN was a bit of a no one really knew how they were going to do, and they're kind of they're not in the relegation spot and they're not in the playoffs. That's kind of how people expected them to happen. But it's kind of Punchline that's been the surprising element here. Like they've been horrendous this season, basically.
One win.
Yeah, they've taken one win. I mean, they've had a lot of issues, which we'll get to in a little bit. But basically, TLR beat off everyone that had no chance. But then they also beat Punchline, which was the only real contender. And actually, they took a map off Crackland, which is why they're in now contention for the second spot, rather than just third or fourth.
Okay, well, it could quite easily be teams overlooking them, not thinking, especially in Crackland's position, you're probably thinking you're just going to go and roll that 6-0, aren't you? And instead, they put up a bit of a fight, you get a little bit shocked, you let the momentum get away from you and take the map. So just maybe showing to TLR, pushing on from, their I-46 result and just pushing forward, trying to contend for the other playoff spots, actually push forward to first position, and had to wait and see what the playoffs happen then. If they took a map off Crackland in the actual season, maybe Crackland won't be as startled when they play them, but maybe TLR will just jump out the gun and beat them if it comes to that, a Crackland versus TLR third fourth space.
Yeah, I think Crackland, they definitely didn't expect it. I know they took it, well, some of them took it quite hard, dropping the map, but their season didn't really get a whole lot better from there either. I mean, they've managed to secure the playoff spot, but I mean, I guess we, BFF, were like the team they really wanted to try and, upset, as it were. I mean, I don't suppose they really expected much from Epsilon, but from us, we were like the closest rival, I suppose. At least that's probably how they felt, and they didn't really do so great in that game. And like it was us and Epsilon were the last two games for them of the season, and they got pretty badly beaten both times. So going into this game, like I don't know, I wouldn't be surprised if some people felt like TLR might be the favorites because they've definitely like kind of finishing on the stronger foot, as it were.
That'll be really, really interesting to see how it turns out. I wouldn't put it past TLR to go and take that if it does end up that way. We'll have to wait and see. Of course, the last two games in Prem are BFF versus QN and BFF versus TLR. Is that right, Cadus?
Yeah.
So obviously, if BFF win, then they'll go into the second spot. If they win both games, go to the second spot. But it's all pretty much just down to the BFF TLR game as to work out where the teams finish up. And if TLR beat you, then they're actually going to get into that second position and guarantee themselves top two.
Yeah.
So, or top three even, sorry, top three.
Yeah, I think because we've got basically 12 points available to us, and we're 5 behind Crackland. So I think realistically, Crackland are going to be uh, below us probably. But so Crackland are probably going to be in the 4th playoff spot now. I think.
Okay.
Well, not realistically, because I suppose TLR need to take basically a point from us, and that would put Crackland into the 4th spot.
Yeah.
But so basically, what I'm trying to get at is TLR have the much better chance to take 3rd over Crackland now.
It's still in their own hands rather than
Yeah.
Crackland just have to sit and hope.
Yeah, and that would leave, if say we 6-0 TLR, that would leave Crackland and TLR on the same amount of points. I don't really know how ETF2 will handle that, because the protocol is generally they play a playoff game to decide seedings, but essentially they'd be playing a playoff game to play their playoff game.
They
It'll
could
be
do it
like
back to back. It'd be like a marathon.
Yeah, I don't really know how that will work.
4 maps in a night.
it'll be like 2 maps to decide. No, it'll be a best of 3 to decide who got to choose
the
their
next
map
map.
first. Yeah, for
It'd be
another
like-
best of 3.
It'd be like a land final, basically. Then I don't know, like lower bracket.
Essentially, only I don't even know. Yeah, but that's something for ETF2L to worry about.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to Punchline, who you kind of mentioned before. Obviously, like quite early in the season, this was just after I left, I think. Ponyon joined the team instead of Flynn, is that right?
I honestly don't recall when you left, but it was toward kind of the end of the season. I think they only played like 2 or 3 matches with Ponyon,
Okay.
as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, so how's he been fitting into that role? Obviously, Flynn was the standout worst player in Punchline before, as everyone said it. And now Ponyon, a little bit less experienced, maybe more of an upcoming talent, but I don't think he was there when I left. Whether you guys think he's there now, do you?
Well, it's a transitional period for Punchline. Whether they actually make it through and are back next season, that's something that really remains to be seen. But I think in their heads, at least, they're in a team in transition. Ponyon probably no worse than Flynn. I'm gonna say probably not much better at the moment. But whereas I felt Flynn had gone as far as he was ever gonna go. I didn't ever see Flynn improving at all. Whereas Ponyon is like nowhere near his peak yet. Like he's played like 2 games in Prem compared to Flynn's 2 seasons, basically.
Mhm.
I mean, maybe Flynn has some better teamwork, but that will come with time probably. But something else about Punchline is that they're soldiers this season, Captain Hacks and Tech. They switched roles. So last season it was Captain Hacks on Pocket and Tech on Roam, and that saw them get into the playoffs with arguably against like stronger teams than this season. And this season they're last against arguably weaker teams. I mean, they've actually switched that back now, but I'm not really sure. I don't really
Maybe
know why they did it, to be honest, because Tech is like even in French, I'm told Tech doesn't have many comms, and Captain Hacks was their main caller, and it was kind of
What-
Captain Hacks' calls, I think, that was kind of keeping the team together as a whole.
Well, it could quite possibly have been that, like, you know, Flynn was like winding down and they were trying to make a way to keep him in the team, or they brought Ponyon in and it felt better at the beginning with having them swap around. And
Well, I think
obviously
they swapped before, like.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they swapped like for a couple of weeks. I think they changed back very soon after they took Ponyon. I think it just kind of became. I mean, Commander X described Captain Hacks' play on Process like he'd never played the map before, and he was literally like pre-game exploring the map. Like he was just
Oh,
he
wow.
wasn't like he was just walking around like he'd come out of PC room on top and he'd just walk around the corner like not looking where he was going, literally just walk into a full fucking team. Honestly, it looked like he had no idea what he was doing. I mean, I guess they put Tech on Pocket because he's fucking really good. And it was like give all the heals to Tech and he'll get lots of kills. But the team
Which
just
he did.
had no. Yeah, it's true. He did a good job basically. But the team just had no cohesion. Like Captain Hacks, he looked like he was playing a completely different game. To be quite honest, like he didn't look like he had a clue what was going on. He probably didn't, to be fair. With like this was a game they played with Ponyon. So like you have Ponyon who's never played in Prem before and is like kind of an erratic character, I suppose. And then Tech basically not saying anything. K3, I don't know anything about him, but I don't know. It's just a complete mess. So basically, they wasted a season doing that, and they're now back where they started with a different demo man.
God. Okay. Well, that's a weird transition for them, but hopefully, if they stick with it, it'll work. Obviously, they've got to play a playoff game against the second team in Prem to decide whether they stay in. The second team in Div 1 even decide whether they stay in Prem or get relegated.
Yeah, I think if they lose that, they'll probably fold for definite. I don't see
Okay.
them playing Div 1 next season.
Yeah, I would have probably said the same thing, but we'll have to wait and see what actually happens at the time. Obviously, we don't know who that Div 1 team is yet because we'll talk about that a little bit later. The one other thing we wanted to mention was quarantine during this season 13 discussion, wasn't it, Cadus?
Yeah.
Do you want to mention them now?
Well, they're sitting in 5th place. I mean, it's dead mid of the table, basically. Just outside playoffs and comfortably away from relegation. I mean, it could have been worse. I don't think it really could have been any better for them without some crazy bullshit going down. Still, like I said, the last time we did Pirate Radio, I said I still haven't played them, so I can't really comment on how they were. And now, like 7 fucking weeks later, I think we've PCW'd them once. So truthfully, I still have no fucking idea what they were all about. To be perfectly honest with you, like we've got a match for them next week, so I'm still, the jury's still out for me on that one.
I think 5th is really good for them. Like I think they've overachieved,
Well,
even if it's not really an achievement.
When we were playing them, we played a few games against them as Twister Play, and we beat them like 3 nights running, or drew maps, and we didn't lose any maps. We drew or won, and like from that point of view, they probably have improved throughout the season to get 5th. Really, I didn't think it was really where they should end up after that. So they've done a good job, and hopefully they'll stay together. Are they staying together, Cadus? Do you know?
Well, I spoke to Crits and I briefly earlier this week, because basically we have matches next week and hardly anyone's playing, so it's quite difficult to get games. I asked Crits and I basically, any chance you guys will be playing when you're done with the season, because we need a warm-up game on such and such. And he said he saw no reason why they wouldn't be playing like straight after the season. So I'm not sure if it's the classic kind of QN Keening thing they do, where they never stop playing and play on Christmas Day. But I don't think they have any plans to forward. Like I don't think, as far as they know, I don't think anyone's leaving. I mean, it may be that someone just is like, I can't be bothered anymore. But I think they're pretty stable as far as it goes. Like especially compared to like some of the teams like Punchline who are just could go either way.
Okay, cool. And there's one more thing which I completely forgot about, overlooked, which was damage control versus CC. I don't really know much about this. Zavi, do you have the full story of the default win, damage control versus CC?
No.
Cadus, do you know it?
Cadus has it, though.
Yeah. Okay, so the ETF2L default date system works like you post on the match page when you can play, and if you don't schedule it in time, the admins will look at the match page and they'll look what you wrote and they'll do whatever it says there. So basically only CC posted on the match page. They said Thursday, the 1st of November. So when it came to the default day, that's what they set it as. The teams couldn't agree on a day. So you can't wildcard week 7 games. So basically Deserto couldn't play the only day. Basically Deserto couldn't play the default date. So, and Crackland refused to play it in the catch-up week because of various personal things we won't go into. Basically, Crackland felt like they couldn't guarantee they would be available. I mean, as it happens, I think they are going to be available. But they couldn't guarantee it, so at the time they basically had to go for the default. And this prompted, obviously, because Acid Renix is now a part of damage control, it's prompted like a wild outbreak of forum posts insisting the rules change. And for once, I'm going to actually side with the ETF2 admins and say, like, how fucking difficult is it to post on a match page?
I completely agree. It's been stated at the beginning of the season, like you have to make sure you schedule the games beforehand. And they,
like
Admirable was even one of the people that made sure that happened. And like this season was the major thing with it. They tried to change everything around for that, and his own team didn't manage to do it. Oh no, his team did even, sorry, wasn't it? And Damage Control didn't. So, oh well. They've had to deal with it for the rest of the season. I completely agree with Cadus and say ETF2 admin team, like it's the right decision really. But now that CC might be able to play this week, surely they could just rearrange it and rescind the default.
Not sure. I mean,
CC do that?
I'm not sure if CC are actually playing this week, but I know I think they'll probably be available at some point. Like, I think I saw them searching for games earlier. I don't really know if they're actually going to play or not. It doesn't really matter if they're actually going to play or not. But yeah. Well, one thing I'll say about the rules though is I do think the rules should change like a little bit. Like this whole catch-up week thing. I think you should be able to wildcard a week 7 game into catch-up week. But
so what's the point of having a catch-up week?
Yeah, well, it's
for other games, but still, like there's still room for that game.
Yeah, but I think the idea is you have to get permission to delay a game to catch-up week, which obviously requires both team and the admins consent. But I think the reason you can't do it is because at the start of the season, the admins didn't have this like a concrete schedule for like not just this season, but like the following seasons and stuff. So there wasn't overlap. Basically, the catch-up week wasn't confirmed, so they felt like teams that had signed up had only committed to the end of week 7, which is kind of stupid considering everyone is playing to get in the playoffs. Well, at least in Prem, they're playing to get in the playoffs. So they were very much prepared to be playing beyond week 7. But I think that's the idea, and I guess they're being consistent at least, which is like a first for ETF2L. So I don't know. Shit happens.
All right, well, let's move on. We're going to go and move on to Division 1 this time. There's a few different things we've got to say here. But basically, the first thing is Twisted Play folding, which pretty much just happened because I wasn't here. The team didn't want to play without me. They basically just went really, really emo when I wasn't here and just didn't want to play TF2 at all, so they ended up folding. Not really much else to say there unless you guys want to add anything.
Ain't no party without the bushel.
And then the other thing is the Division 1, like last game in Division 1, which is my DGB versus Avenue, and that completely decides who gets the direct promotion spot into Prem and who has to play against Punchline for the other promotion spot, which should be a pretty big game. Do you guys know what map it's on? I don't even know which week
Turbine
it's
and
from.
Gully Wash. It's week 7. It's in order.
Okay, Xavi, have you played against these guys on Turbine and Gully Wash? Do you know much about them? I could talk about Gully Wash and Avenue.
We might have played Avenue on Gully Wash, and basically we just play it slowly, and Septique goes sniper and ruins my day.
Yeah, we played Avenue when we played Avenue in the season. We played them on Gully Wash, and it felt like they play a lot really passive and just get caught out quite easily. But obviously, it's been 6 weeks or something since then, so I can't really comment much further than that. Cadus, have you played either of these teams? I doubt it.
I marked for Elemental Violence today and we played Avenue. We only played Gully Wash of the maps that are involved here, and I don't know, I guess we LMV won, but I haven't played enough of the Div 1 teams really to know how LMV are compared to Avenue, so, I mean, sorry, how LMV are like on a normal day compared to Avenue, because it was like just one game and there was a Merc and that kind of stuff. And I don't really know how LMV would match up to Naughty Batman or whatever the Russian org's called.
Okay.
But based on like class matchups and stuff, it looks to me like fucking hell, what is their name? MyDGB.net. It looks like with their scouts, they're probably going to storm Gully Wash because Avenue weren't. And while I say I can't really form a conclusion, they definitely didn't seem like one of their strong maps. With scouts like Kyler and Harry Hook, is it actually still Harry Hook? I'm so like out of date on the Div 1 thing.
Yes.
Okay, so with Kylo and Harry Hook, you're going to expect them to roll over Septique and Reveril. I say Septique and Reveril. You're going to expect them to roll over Reveril because Septique's going to snipe the whole game. But on Turbine, I think it could be quite interesting because Toda versus Brago, I'd give that to Brago every time. And Demo is a pretty like crucial class. And the same with the soldiers. Like, I mean, Horn, I'm sure he's still got that kind of controlling like ability where he keeps the team together and things like that. But kind of toe-to-toe soldier, I don't really think he's that good. And Coins... again, he's okay, but I think
one thing I want to talk about on Turbine Pro is like you're not mentioning scouts, but like with the new version in Pro, scouts are really crucial on it. I've always felt whenever I played it. Is that not what it's like anymore? Has different things happened throughout the season?
I don't know. I don't think they're that crucial, but I just kind of think like I just feel like the Ubers are kind of how the Ubers are exchanged is a lot more important on other maps because you have a lot less. Because I always say like. The Ubers aren't that important, it's what happens after the Ubers. But the Ubers seem to play a lot stronger a role on Turbine because there isn't really that much you can do after the Uber. You're just in a fucking corridor, so a lot of the time getting a good Uber is a lot more important. And I think just from like the way that Brago plays compared to the way Toda plays, I just think they're going to get an edge there.
I want to point something out. You said like Haunter wouldn't have the soldier advantage. Avenue now have Roni on pocket. Roni blows. Like Haunter's
forgot that.
bad.
They had old grandma playing with them today. I completely forgot they had Roni. Shit, yeah. I take it back.
Who do they used to have on pocket? Who's gone?
It used to be Wolf and someone else. It still is Wolf at the moment, and it used to be
Wolf and
Clark. Oh yeah, Quick.
Oh yeah,
Quick. Yeah, but he was like a downy.
Even for a Russian, he was downy. Like the Russians were like, "No, man, you're not smart enough."
And I think it could be interesting anyway. I kind of feel like my DGB. I'm saying this just on like head-to-head matchups. They'll take Gully Wash, but I think Turbine is going to come a bit closer. Which sadly, like, means my prediction will be 3-3, which is really fucking boring because it means they're just going to have to play again.
Are they on the equal points?
Yeah, they're on dead equal
But don't-
points. So if they each take a map, then it's going to be a new playoff game.
Oh wow. Well, I don't think. I think my DGB
They're
are going
not
to
gonna
take
start.
it just because of the head-to-head matchups. Personally,
You do?
I know Brago's that
Tyler
much better than
rules.
Toda, but I think Scouts are going to destroy.
What?
Let's
Why
move on
can't
to the
we
rest
hear
of
them?
the
What
Div
the
1
fuck?
news. We just got UV versus VIA, which Zavi can talk about because I don't really know what happened. I think someone
Right.
got refused a Merc, is that
Okay,
right?
basically, UV wanted to move the game because their demo wasn't here, and Via Red refused.
Really?
They're like, okay, then we need to use a Merc. We'll have Blade play Demo Man, and we'll have
When did
Ordinator
they
play
start?
Soldier, who's been their Soldier for the last year. He left recently. He rejoined them on the first day of Week 7, which technically meant he joined when the rosters were locked. So any game he plays, he's classed as a Merc that the other team needs to allow. And basically, Via Red said no and
Well.
refused to let him play, so they had to use Empty instead.
It's a bit of a weird thing. Ordinator was in that team for such a long time. Like he was only out for this season, right at the beginning. He like rage quit at the beginning, didn't he? From what I remember.
Well, not a rage quit, but yeah. They parted
board
ways.
quit.
They came back, yeah. And he's like joining properly again. He's not just joined for the end of the season. They are back together, original lineup kind of thing.
Well,
Minus
that's not cool,
GDK.
Via Red.
Why is it
Not
always
cool
the
at
fucking
all.
Germans, man? Sonny Black, you're a league admin, bro. Set an example, man. That's just dirty.
All right.
Yeah. And apparently they then defaulted. They like beat them on Golden. Via Red won Golden Cap on Gully Wash and then defaulted Turbine to them, like to give you the
what?
points.
It's such a fucking dick move as well, because Via Red, there's 2 drop teams in Div 1, so they ain't getting fucking relegated, but they got 8 points, so they're not getting anywhere fucking near the playoffs. Like, it's
And
just such
yeah,
a dick move.
UV needed 5 points to maybe get the playoff to Prem spot.
Wow.
And so basically, once they realised they wouldn't be able to get 5 points, they just kind of gave them the win.
Yeah, in theory, if Avenue were to drop 6 points and UV had actually managed to win that game, they would have taken it, right? Or at least had a game to decide who takes the game against Punchline. God, this system's confusing.
If they'd gotten all 5 points, yeah, they would have been equal on Avenue and my GGB. So if one team 6-0'd the other,
Yeah.
yeah,
So they would have been in with a shot. So that's. But Via had nothing to lose and nothing to gain. Like
yeah, they're
they
in,
could
like,
they could
a safe
overtake. They could like overtake elemental violence if they.
which they didn't because they defaulted for second map anyway. So they're still finished bottom of the non-folded teams.
It's just fucking game.
All right, well, let's move on to the next topic, which I think Cadus wants to have a little chat about, which is, of course, VTV for this season, who apparently haven't been very good. So go for it, Cadus.
Okay. So before I start, I just want to say, in case any VTV people are listening and want to thrash me in their IRC room later, I'm not saying this because like I want to just bitch about VTV. I'm just gonna like make some observations. So obviously everyone can tell that VTV hasn't done a lot this season compared with their previous season, which off the back of I-46 was quite disappointing, obviously, because we were hoping this could be like a really good season. And as far as like ETF2L, like the admins and the organization has gone, it's been a pretty good season. Like, I mean, things have run smoothly. There's been these like clear rules. The games have, for the most part, got played on time, stuff like that. I mean, the nicknames, that was something VTV requested specifically. Like Pledge is always constantly crying about it. Like the nickname rule, they have to use like a set nickname all season. They can't change it. Like that was like Pledge harping on about that. And but then Pledge goes and doesn't cast a single game this season. So like, I mean, obviously I'm not going to have a go at them and be like, rah, 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 because obviously they're people and they have their own thing to do. But I mean, it's been very disappointing from them considering like all these things that ETF2L has done. And I'm told that Pledge has been available a little bit, but he has very high standards on who he'll cast with, and he'll only cast with like a set group of people. Which, given that Admirable is always playing, and like Greg hasn't been here, that basically means Pledge will only cast with Scully, as far as I'm aware, and refuse to cast with anyone else.
What a high standard.
So that's kind of lame. Basically, Pledge would be like, "Nah, I won't cast. Like he's too good for it." So that's kind of gay. Like I said, I wasn't going to call people out, but that's kind of gay. So.
Well, it's a shame they haven't really cast very much. I think Arcs and Beta have been doing a good job of their Tuesday stuff still, haven't they? Yeah.
Yeah, that's something I want to say. Arcs and Beta have been pretty consistent, but really, like, I mean, there's 3 games a week in Prem. You'd kind of like, with how VTV had been like leading up to the season, you'd kind of expected them to get all of the games unless they were on the same night.
Hmm.
I mean, I remember one week in like week 2 or something, literally 3 Prem games in one night, and there wasn't a cast. So like the whole fucking week basically went out the window.
Wow.
And it's just stuff like that. It's just been very, like really disappointing.
Well, this is why me and Zabby started doing those
STV.
demo casts, yeah, the STV casts. So maybe it's worth going back and reviewing any of the good games, Zabby. But it is a shame, you know. I've not been here. Maribel's been playing, so it does make it hard for them. So we'll just make sure the playoffs are all casted pretty much, and I'm back now, so I should be able to
And
cast a little
something
bit
that's
more.
also I wanted to say something kind of interesting about the situation is I think of all the people in VTV, DJC probably wants to be there the least. Like you know how DJC is. He's not there. Like there's some people he just can't stand and just doesn't get on with, and he kind of is like a chore to deal with. I'm fairly sure there's a few people like that in VTV from my own experience. So I don't expect he really wants to be there, but he's been one of the most active casters this season nonetheless.
And he
Like,
also
after
said
Alex and Beta.
he also
but-
said at the beginning of the season he didn't want to cast anything this season until the ESEA LAN, and that was it.
Yeah, he literally said he would just do that and then quit casting, which I'm pretty sure he still plans to do, but he's at least like done this season. Like for someone who doesn't really want to, rather than just doesn't have much time. I don't know.
Well, I don't
props
think he has
to
much
DJC,
time on
man.
top of not wanting to.
Right, well, I think we've ranted about VTV enough. I think everyone got the point, but hopefully they'll just man up and do it all right for next season. Well, maybe apply, guys, if you want to do anything. It's worth
Yeah,
applying.
that's
I don't
kind
know
of the
what
point
we
I'm
need.
getting at. It's like I didn't want to have a go at them so much as just highlight they're struggling basically. So if anyone really I mean, casting isn't really that fucking difficult, especially like Prem players.
Mhm.
Like even just having like you don't even have to be able to do play by play. Like the one time I casted a game, I didn't do any play by play. I just like gave some analysis and stuff like that, and I casted with Marble and let him do all the play by play. I mean, the feedback was mainly positive on that. So it's kind of like the Prem Div 1 players that could probably take a stab at it.
Well, didn't Reverall cast at one point and people raved about it or liked it? I didn't. Is that right?
Yeah, like literally, he could like. I mean, I'm no offense to Revel, but his voice and like obviously being Israeli, his English isn't that crystal clear. But if Revel got really good feedback, so it just kind of highlights that probably unexpected people can do it. So maybe some other people should give it a shot or something like that.
Hmm. Well said. Well, let's move on to the other bit of news. So we got a CC fold question mark here from Cadus. Apparently, Cadus had a fun conversation with Mini Moose at about 6 a.m. when Mini Moose has come back really drunk and just giving us some gossip about Crack Clan. So Cadus, you want to go through what he told you?
Okay, so this started because Droso told me they were folding because Retshock was going to the army. So I messaged Ips and Mini Moose like, "Yo, is this true?" Ips told me it was all bullshit. CC are fine as long as they take third in the season. They're going to stay together.
Red Shock definitely isn't going to be in the
Yeah, yeah,
army
yeah.
next
I know.
season as well. And like,
So that was bullshit. But then I messaged. But that's why it's quite funny that Mini Moose told me all this because obviously my intel was bullshit and he could have just outright denied it and it would have been completely in his rights to do so. But basically, what he told me was there's a lot of kind of discontent among CC at the moment. I mean, Ips and Co are going to try and play this off like, oh no, he's just drunk, it's all bullshit. But I mean, Mini Moose told me that Mini Moose wasn't going to play after the season. So,
I trust that information.
like,
Yeah, I
so
trust that as well.
I kind of believe that. So, like, he told me that he's just going to have too much work next semester and stuff like that, and he's just not going to have the time. He also said that Tvik is probably going to leave. Well, I'm not sure. I don't think this is based on Tvik telling him, but he feels like Tvik is going to leave 6v6 or at least leave CC. He said that he thought Ips and Marble might continue. He didn't know anything about Sam, which means Sam will probably continue. So I guess he said that Retshock has never really enjoyed it though since Matanen left. So I suppose if Retshock stayed, they could continue.
Yeah.
But if Retshock
Well-
were to leave, like if that was true, because obviously I'm not sure how much of this is true, except for the Mini Moose point, because obviously Mini Moose is Mini Moose.
Yeah, well, Tavik's in the ISE channel. Let's see if he's leaving, shall we? Hopefully
You're not gonna get a
he'll.
straight answer from Tavik.
Yeah, we'll see. I ain't playing ink. Okay. Well, let's move on to the next topic anyway. I think we've kind of discussed CC. We'll have to wait and see what happens with them after the season. As Kata said, third place is what they're aiming for. So, do you know if they get fourth, will they be up? Will they fold? Is that what you're saying, Cadus?
Well, I think if they get 4, Vips is going to just fucking destroy Twix, like, will to play the game ever again. So, if they get 4, they're in trouble, I think. Then I don't see them taking it very well.
Fair enough. The other bit of news that we want to talk about, or rumor we want to talk about, is was it Winter Assembly? Is that right? Or was it
Yeah.
WASM Whispers? Cadis, you talked to Adam, was that right? Is that what's going on?
Well, yeah, I heard it from various like Finns that it was a possibility, and then
Okay.
it just so happened that as Skyride was looking at the Pirate Radio list, that he was actually involved with it, and he basically said to me that Assembly up for hosting it.
Mhm.
They had some concerns because of how TF2 had been in like the last few assemblies that they did. TF2 had kind of a really poor attendance. Like the very last one, there was just, fuck me, what were they called at the time?
Power,
Our
Seacrest, and Armix, and then
Yeah.
MIPC, wasn't it? Or am I making that up?
MIPC were there as well.
Yeah,
and
so basically it was one top team, one low prem team as they were then, that basically that attended, and it used to be like 4 or 5 of the best teams would go. So they were basically disappointed by the attendance, but I think Sky Raiders kind of reassured them, convinced them there would be some decent attendance, which I'm pretty sure there would be. Even though there's not that many good teams at the moment, I think they'd all be really, really keen to go. So I think he kind of reassured them about that.
Mhm.
He spoke to the teams, and the team said, yeah, we'd be keen, and he took that back to them. So basically now it's all a question of, as always in TF2, is the sponsorship. So I'm not really sure what they're going to do. I think they're probably going to go away and see how it is, and see if they have, the budget to host a TF2 event. But
Yeah, well,
I'm not
that's-
sure when they announced their tournaments, like for Winterlands. Like I don't know when they actually do it.
We went to the summer one, didn't we? The summer one was announced pretty late. I seem to remember. Like, when was the actual event? Was it August? I think they announced it in like June.
Yeah,
So
I know
it's
they haven't
a couple of
announced
months in
anything yet.
advance.
But yeah,
So it's in February, isn't it, normally? So I assume this one's going to be there about. So maybe December they'll announce the tournaments.
so yeah,
So I
Sky
guess
says
that's when we'll find out.
yeah, Sky says mid-December,
All right.
and it'll be the first of February if it does happen for us.
Cool. Well, that would be really, really awesome. I'd try and get down there again. That was a really fun weekend when we went there, wasn't it, Cadis? So
Yeah, I'm pretty sure if it happened, like Epsilon and BFF at least would be there. Crackland, I think they'd make a really, really big effort to go.
okay.
But
Cool. Well, let's talk I-47 now, as we've already pretty much covered WASM. I guess we'll talk about that more if it actually occurs and talk about what teams are looking to go. I-47 seems to have a really meager turnout again. Was it just not so Damage Control were considering going? They found some private sponsor or something? I don't know, something weird, but
I think
were a
half their players can go.
Hmm.
Like as in Spin, Stark, and Arcs can attend. But obviously that's only half a roster, and they would prefer to have a whole roster.
really,
Yes. So if they're going to get
Yeah.
set sponsors to go to the event, they want the full roster to go, and it's quite close to the event, so it's not like you can get everything for cheap. So, from a sponsor point of view, it's a little bit too expensive, so they decided not to go with a really big mixed team. Twisted Play, we don't know if we're going. I don't think we are as a team, but we might find some sort of mix. I don't think Josh can go at all. Anything else from My47? Do we talk about the prize fund for it? Is it if you get 12 teams, we get more money, but it's guaranteed £1,000 or something? Is that right? I don't remember.
I don't know. I guess it doesn't really matter because it's not going to get 12 teams.
Yeah, but I
It's
think it
just
had to
gonna
have
be the
6
1,000.
teams to get 1,000 as well, from what I remember. I don't know. So whether it'll get 6 teams, that'll be questionable. Apparently, there's going to be a mixed team. Like Spin is still going to go, I think, and is trying to set up a mixed team to try and win it.
There's
So-
a 9-man team going, I think, as well. So
Oh, okay.
like there is if people out there thinking of kind of making a team or something, like if just 2 people do it, it'll be worth it.
Yeah, well, me and Cadis are considering making one at the moment if Twisted Play don't go. So
Yeah.
there'll be at least a few teams there. Just want to highlight that ESEA LAN is in a week and a half, 2 weeks. 2 weeks, isn't it? Is that right,
Yeah.
Cadis? So
Yeah,
2 weeks.
I think this time in 2 weeks it will have just wrapped up. Or is it the 24th, 25th? No, it can't be. I think it's the 17th.
Okay. So we'll have a special next week, I think, talk about the ESEA LAN. I've not really managed to see very much, so I'll try and get Sea Bear back on again. He's always good at chatting about this sort of stuff, or Bloodstar or something. But yeah, do watch that next week. We want to talk about ETF2L Highlander season 3. Just mention there's some money in it. Cadus, do you want to go through like the teams at least, so we know a little bit about Highlander?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so I don't really follow. Okay, I'm in SNSD, but I don't really follow the Highlander scene so much. Okay, what I know about Highlander Prem, there's us, the the favorites, I suppose, as it were. There's Colony, who are like the SNSD long-term rivals that we beat without a medic, but never mind. There's May Contain Nuts is like a big Highlander team for like quite some seasons now, and they've redone their roster a bit. Like there's Coins and Haunter and Klar and those kind of people. There's a team that just has every fucking player that Skeege could pull out of his dick. It's got like Cookie on the roster, who I hope doesn't play, to be honest, and a bunch of other
he
people.
snipes for them, doesn't he?
Isn't he backup sniper?
Oh, is he?
He's not
Okay.
Accept Seat's main sniper, I think.
I hope not. And then there's some team I've never heard of in my life, and then there's Max Play, which is a team of Polish people that Drosos he insists they all hack, so means they're better than Droso.
Whoa!
All those
Crack
players.
Clan.
Yeah, and there's money for this as well. I think it's like $1,000 for first place, and then like 600 for second, 300 for third. There's gonna be playoffs and that kind of stuff. There's also gonna be these secondary playoffs, which I don't fucking understand, because there's gonna be the bottom 3 teams from Prem and the top 4 teams from Div 1, making for a wonderful, confusing 7-team playoff tournament.
Wait, what are they playing off for?
So basically, there's a separate prize pool of like €500 or something that's gonna go to these teams.
Okay.
Weird. Okay.
Why wouldn't they pick 8?
Secondary playoffs, winner takes 360. The secondary playoffs, runner up 135.
135
between 9 people. Wow. Okay, that's pretty cool. Thank you, Cadus, for your insight into the Highlander scene. Let's move on to ETF2L. There's going to be a cup featuring the major unlocks from ESEA. So you think talking Gunboat, you're talking Boston Basher, all those sort of things. Not like the direct hit, not the stuff that's not used. So that should be quite an interesting cup. Hopefully people will enter that. There should be hardware prizes as well. So if you're Equilibrium, be careful. And for everyone else, you're fine.
Yeah, I think basically the idea of it is just to kind of see how Euro TF2 handles it when these unlocks are in the game. Because obviously one of the main fears of anything involving unlocks is there's so goddamn many of them that just, at least at the start, there's going to be so much random bullshit cropping up in games. So I think it's basically to simulate some play between teams, with like legitimate use of the unlocks. So basically just restricting them to the ones that are actually going to help.
All right, cool. And that's basically it. The one thing we got left is just to talk about when the final games of the season are being played. Xavi, do you want to go through that? Have you got them there? The final 3 games, or the 3 major games?
BFS versus QM will be played on Tuesday, and so will mydgb.net versus Avenue, and BFF versus TLR will be on Thursday.
Cool. So do we want to do some predictions of where we think, because that kind of gives us the top 4 at least, doesn't it? I think BFF are going to roll QN, go 6 points up, and then BFF should beat TLR enough that TLR are going to stay in 3rd and 4th, on that 20 points still. So yeah, I think Epsilon, BFF, then CC and TLR in that kind of order. And the Div 1 final I'm going to give to mydgb. That's what I'm trying to say.
Such a goddamn awful name to say.
Yeah. We call them Naughty Lab. Can we just still call
That's
them
even fucking worse. That's like the worst fucking name.
We should just have a poll and we'll decide a name to call them for them. Take it out of their hands because they clearly can't be trusted with naming their own team.
All right. So, Cadus, do you want to go through your predictions for that as well?
We're going to beat both of them 6-0, and I think it's going to be sadly 3-3 and be very anticlimactic.
Oh, really? Okay. And Xavi?
I'm going to say BFF will 6-0 both maps, and then the Avenue MyDGB one, I think MyDGB will win 4-2. MyDGB will take Gully, but then what's their face? Avenue will win Turbine, but only win it 2-1.
I don't think there's golden caps on Turbine.
No,
I thought
3 like standard.
I think it's
Yeah,
like
they
Gravel
also-
Kit.
don't you do like 3 rounds and
Yeah,
point per round?
I think so.
But no, I don't think it's a point per round. I'm pretty sure if you
How would
win,
that make any fucking sense? It's best.
Well, if there's 3 10, yeah, so you get a point for each one of the three.
But you'd only play two. If you 2-0 them, then what?
You get all 3 points. Yeah, but then they'd win 2-1 is what I'm saying, and get 2 points to one.
I don't think that's how it works.
I don't think it's how it works either. I'm
What,
pretty
so-
sure that if you just win, if you win Turbine, you
get,
win.
It's only 3 or 0, and it's not like
Yeah.
gravel. Okay. Well,
The gravel pit was 3 or 0 though.
I'm going 3 all then.
Okay, there we go. Finally, we're finally there, Zavi.
Well, I didn't play this season. Tell me shit.
Greg, you completely
Right.
forgot to mention Bite's sick new team.
Oh, of course. We have some lovely little gossip hot off the presses here at Pirate Radio. Cadis, do you wanna let us know?
I don't really fucking know. Like, apparently 2 weeks ago, for the second time, Bite was asking like Stark again if he would make a team, like join his team with Bite as demo, and this time he also asked Headhunter. They both said no. So sorry, Bite. Your dreams crashed. Take 2. That's all I
Okay.
know.
Fair enough. Ibs has just put the ask Pescanova whether he's trolling or not.
He's definitely trying. Ips said it. You've answered your own question.
All right, so we might see a new Bite team come up with some of like Div1's players, like he did before, bringing up some new talent sort of thing.
Yeah.
But he's going to be playing Demo Man, so that'll probably be a Div1 then. Oh no, wait. No, I'm joking, of course. I'm joking. Let us finish this podcast anyway. We're all done. Thank God for that. We'll see you guys next week. We probably won't have another month break like last time. So see you then.
Oh,
Ciao.
laters.